Welcome to Furniture Industry News. Today is Tuesday, June 30th, 2026, and thanks for spending a few minutes with us. This week is really about one thing: reading a consumer who hasn't gone away, but has gotten a lot more careful. Spending looks steady on the surface, but underneath it, people are buying fewer things and weighing every dollar. We'll also dig into a tariff story that matters more for our industry than almost anyone else's, a real bright spot out of Target's home business, and what the latest Amazon sales event tells us about how people are shopping right now. Let's get into it. Let's start with the consumer, because everything else flows from here. New numbers from the research firm Circana show that overall retail spending in May rose about 1.3% compared with a year ago. On its face, that sounds healthy, but here's the catch. While the dollars went up, the actual number of items people bought fell by about 1.5%. So people are spending a little more money on fewer things, and most of that growth is simply higher prices, not stronger demand. Now zoom into the discretionary category, the bucket that includes home goods and furnishings. Revenue there inched up just over 1%, but unit sales dropped more than 4%. That gap is the real story. When money gets tight, people don't stop spending altogether. They stop buying the things they can put off, and a new sofa or bedroom set is one of the easiest purchases in any household to postpone. One of Circana's advisors, Marshall Cohen, made a point I think every operator should sit with. He said resilience in consumer spending is not automatic, it has to be activated. That's the whole game right now. The customer is engaged and intentional, but they need a real reason to buy today, whether that's smart financing, a genuine promotion, or a sense of urgency you create on the floor.
The mood data backs this up. The University of Michigan's closely watched sentiment index actually rose in June, climbing to 49.5 from 44.8 in May and snapping 3 straight months of decline. The encouraging piece is that the part of the survey measuring expectations for the future jumped about 15%, helped along by easing gas prices and cooling worries about overseas conflict. But, and this is important, confidence is still running nearly 30% below where it was a year ago. And when researchers asked people what worried them more in the year ahead, inflation or unemployment, 36% pointed to inflation, the highest share in well over a year, while only 7% named unemployment. So treat the rebound as fragile. People feel a little better, but they're still bracing for higher prices, and that keeps big-ticket purchases like ours under pressure. Now, for a genuine bright spot. Target's home business just grew for the first time in 2 years. Its home furnishings and decor segment rose about 0.6% in the most recent quarter, to roughly $3.24 billion. That's a small gain, but it broke a streak of 8 straight quarters of year-over-year declines in a category Target used to dominate. To put the slump in perspective, the company hasn't grown home sales on an annual basis since 2021, and last fiscal year alone, its home sales fell by more than $1 billion. So how are they turning it around? They're swapping out nearly 3/4 of their decorative accessories, refreshing kids' home and bedding next, and rolling out dedicated shop-in-shop space for their strongest private label across 200 stores. Why does this matter to us? Because Target competes for the very same home goods dollar we do. Even a small gain signals tougher competition ahead, and their playbook, clearing out tired assortments and concentrating behind your best brands, is worth studying no matter what size operation you run. Under a new chief executive, this is a multi-year rebuild, so expect a more aggressive Target in home through 2027.
Now to the story I'd circle for everyone in our industry: tariffs. There's good news and a serious catch. The good news is that furniture importers just got another shot at recovering tariffs they paid under an emergency powers program that the courts struck down. As of late June, U.S. Customs widened its refund system to accept a new category of import entries that couldn't be filed before. For furniture companies, many of whom rely heavily on imported product and components, that can mean real cash coming back. But it's procedural and deadline-driven, so the refunds will go to the companies that move first. The practical advice is to pull your import records now, figure out which shipments newly qualify, and make sure someone actually owns those filings before the deadlines pass. Don't assume your customs broker is already on it. Here's the catch, and it's a big one. You've probably seen that the warehouse clubs, Walmart, Costco, and BJ's, are planning to take the tariffs they recover and turn them into lower prices for shoppers. That sounds great until you realize furniture mostly can't follow them there. The tariffs that hit our industry hardest, a 25% duty on upholstered furniture and kitchen cabinets, and a separate 25% duty on Chinese-made furniture, were not the ones the courts threw out. They're still on the books. On top of that, the government opened a new trade investigation in March, covering nearly every major furniture exporting country, from China and Vietnam to India and Mexico. So while a big box can advertise a tariff refund price cut, most furniture sellers can't, and that could leave our dealers at a disadvantage as shoppers come to expect those deals. Even Williams-Sonoma, one of the biggest names in home furnishings, has said it isn't counting on refunds in its planning this year, with its finance chief admitting it's impossible to say where tariffs will ultimately land. The Home Furnishings Association is urging members to file their claims as soon as possible because the longer you wait, the harder those refunds get to recover. The bottom line? File early, know your deadlines, and don't build your pricing for the rest of the year around refund money you may never see.
Let me close with the latest read on how people are actually shopping, and it ties everything together. Amazon's big summer sales event just wrapped, and it broke records even as the average shopping cart got lighter. According to Adobe, shoppers spent $26.4 billion online over the 4 days, up more than 9% from last year, so strong that Adobe says summer is starting to rival the winter holidays as a shopping season. Encouragingly for us, furniture and bedding sales jumped about 55% over a typical June day during the event. But here's the other side. A second firm, Numerator, found the average order size actually fell about 11% from last year to just under $48, and the average household spent about 8% less. Both of those things can be true at once. More people are shopping, but each one is spending a little less. That smaller, more careful basket is the same story we've heard all episode. People are engaged but cautious, and they're hunting for value. In fact, when you look at where shoppers splurged on premium products, home and garden was one of the few categories that went the other way, with buyers trading down rather than up. The lesson is that event-driven urgency still works. Furniture moved when the deals were strong, but the offer has to feel like real value before people act. One more signal worth your attention. Adobe found that shopping traffic coming from AI assistants jumped almost 90% during the event, and this is the striking part. It converted 40% better than other channels. Just a year ago, that same AI traffic actually converted worse than average. That's a fast turnaround, and it tells you AI is quickly becoming a real path to purchase, not just a research tool. It's worth making sure your products and your stores show up well when a shopper asks an AI assistant for a recommendation. So that's the rundown for this week. The through line is a consumer who's engaged but careful, a tariff picture that's tougher for furniture than for the big boxes, and a couple of genuine bright spots in Target's home turnaround and strong event demand when the value is right. If you find these updates useful, please consider subscribing so you never miss an issue. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk soon.